Everyone, I'd like to welcome you back to Staying Strong for Marriages. This is going to be nothing to see here, no articles today, so if you want to save this one for when you need to go for a walk or run, it's fine by me. Just save it to your library and we'll see you there. So today I'm going to be talking about basically the experience that I think many of us are going to have at some point sooner or later. It could be early on, it could be later on, but basically just having a prayer person or someone who you really felt like was in your corner kind of approach you and say, hey, I'm done, I'm out, and thanks, but I bring that up because that happened to me recently, and it's not the first time it's happened to me. So I want to take a little bit of time, sort through the emotions of it, put together some thoughts, and there's so many things when it comes to divorce and standing for marriage, and so I just thought this was one of many things that I wanted to cover. I also need your guys' help. One of my future projects is going to be to try to cover some of the big names in Christianity, and I don't even have an exhaustive list, but if there are people that you are curious about what their stance is on marriage permanence, marriage divorce, remarriage, and if you have resources for those folks, if you want to drop those in the comment section, that would help me out a lot. I tried to do a couple posts and ask people about Beth Moore, and I don't think she's really taken like a very public stance on it. I have some other people on my list, but it'd be interesting to know what you guys are interested in or who you think should be on the list. Okay, so talking about this whole thing with, I guess I'll just tell the story. I picked a bunch of really great guys, and they are really good guys. I've been praying for my wife for over 5 years now, and so there's two things I really noticed with this. One, it's if like for me, or if you've never had a personal experience with divorce before, it can be very, you don't know exactly what's normal. And I think a lot of people experience that. There's all those emotions, there's all that weird stuff with the lawyers, there's these things with the kids, there's all these weird strategies. You get all this different information. If you ask 50 people, you're going to get 50 different words of advice. And so it can be very confusing. One thing I really realized was that, as I've gone through the process, you kind of go through that with, if you ask your bridesmaids or your groomsmen to, stand up, if they're interested in, and I would suggest everyone ask, those types of people that came to your wedding and made a vow before the community, usually the pastor asks people, are you committed? Are you going to stand and help this couple? Because it's difficult. Everyone that's married knows it's difficult. And so if you've asked those people to come on your team and help you and support you, I think that's great. I think that's a great idea. So what's going to happen when they call you up and they say, hey, I just can't keep going with you anymore? Some people will do that. Most of the time what I've noticed is people will just kind of fall off the map. If they live in different places, you just won't hear from them. And I think that becomes very apparent, like who's praying and who's not. You can tell. You can basically tell. So, it may not come as a big shock to you, but whether that you kind of get the silent treatment, people disappear, or whether it's just, I think for many people, they don't know what to say anymore. I think that can be very, very, very true. It's like these are the same prayers over and over again, so maybe it's not that fresh or innovative. But it can happen that people come to you and they say, I'm out. And here's my thoughts on that. One, where I was going with this whole thing about marriage and divorce being a confusing process, something that we haven't walked through before. We have to realize that the people that pray with us, they go on a similar journey. They maybe are confronted with a lot of verses that we're struggling with, we're trying to figure out. We're trying to understand, well, my pastor said this, and then I read the scriptures over here, and then I go on YouTube and I hear these other compliments, or I hear these other arguments, I should say, and it's like, what is all this? What is this all supposed to mean? People say things like, well, it's not good for man to be alone, so he must want us to remarry. Or people might say, there's this verse, or there's this other verse, or there's that other verse. Or especially if you start adding in anything from the psychological community, or anything that, one thing that's really interesting is people do this like listening prayer, or sozo prayer. I hear people saying this, they say, God told me that our marriage was done, or God told me that I didn't have to wait around, or God told me X, Y, or Z. And I think that's can happen a lot too, and is very problematic in and of itself. But whatever the case may be, with these prayer partners that we have, we may be pulling them into all that stuff, and they might not like it. They might find it very confusing as well. That they don't have answers, they don't know how to pray, and it may hit close to home. They may be in second marriages, or their brothers or sisters, or their close friends, maybe their parents. And if you get all the way into some of that stuff, which eventually I think everyone does, is you start to end up coming across those verses where people are starting to talk about, well, if the wages of sin is death and all this stuff, and what are these verses about, people that aren't going to inherit the kingdom of God? How serious is God about this? If I'm on the wrong side of this divorce and remarriage controversy, what does that mean? Or what does that mean for, someone's mom and dad or someone's brother or sister. I mean, it becomes very, very personal for them in not very long at all. And so I think we can all see that. In my situation, I mean, this guy, I have been struggling with him. But I decided that during the course of that struggle, as we had phone calls or whatever, um, I thought the best thing I can do is be authentic, be my true self, share my true thoughts. And I mean, because I can't sugarcoat things for him. And it's not an easy topic. It's not an easy topic. Anytime that you get into it with people and there's some level of disagreement, there's a level of disagreement because there's a lot riding on it. I mean, one, you could say there's a lot of social pressure that's put on people. So it's kind of like we're arguing about what's moral and what's not. What is the Bible saying? And then is there anything extra out there that if the Bible doesn't cover it, we need to go and kind of maybe add some, fill in the cracks, you could say. So there's stuff like that. There's just the truths that people hold. If they haven't really, really like challenged them or if they haven't had anyone else challenge them, then it's not comfortable to have your whole kind of like system, your framework challenged or undone, and then have to call it into question and look and revise and change and question and wonder. It's a lot of work, it really, really is. So we take people in all that. And that's kind of what was happening with one of my friends. I also shouldn't say that he's the first guy that's kind of, stepped out. One of the other guys, left for a while. And he was just, I was like, hey man, I was like, where have you been? I looked up and I mean, I don't expect you to email me, every week, but I think I only heard from you like 6 times in a year. Like what's going on? Are you okay? How are you feeling about this? Like why the silent treatment? And he just said, yeah, something, I'm sorry. And I was like, man, maybe you need to take a break, And he was like, yeah. And then I said, well, hey, go ahead and we'll catch up in the future. And then maybe 4 or 5 months went by, and I messaged him. I said, hey, I mean, how are you feeling? Are you interested in this at all? And there was like kind of nothing for a while. And then, and then I followed up again a couple months after that, and he was like, yeah, I think I'm ready to pray again with you. And it still hasn't been like, he hasn't been very engaged. And so sometimes I thought maybe I should just get this guy out of here. Maybe I should tell him, it just doesn't seem like your heart's really in it. Maybe you're just doing this because you're trying to be nice, or it's out of obligation, or maybe you feel guilted, or who knows why you're doing it. Maybe if this isn't a good fit for you right now, maybe you do need to like go and take some more time and come back when you're really ready. And but I kind of decided that what I was going to do when I ran into things like that was just let people do their thing. I mean, I have no idea what's going on in these people's lives. I mean, really, really, the stress that they encounter on a day-to-day basis, the changes with their jobs, the things that can go on with their marriages or their kids. And so it's like, I mean, it could be that they're kind of in it for the wrong reasons, but I don't know that. I mean, if I ask them and they don't tell me directly, or if they insist that they want to keep going, it's like, I think the right play is to say, okay, I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna keep emailing you. And I think the temptation is to when you don't feel like they're really in it all the way, is to get angry. Like I mean, when this guy told me most recently a couple weeks ago that he was done, now I wasn't all that shocked because I had kind of seen, I kind of heard from him. I kind of seen some things, and like I said, when I was being honest with him, it was in a challenging way. Hey, I think you're missing something here. I don't see it that way. I think there are scriptures that would say differently. And so I wasn't all that surprised, but and I was being pretty serious. I said, we got to pray. We got to pray for leaders that we know. We got to pray for people that are involved in people's lives that are having bad effects. We want to make sure to safeguard other couples. And so we got to pray that people come to decisions about what's right and what's wrong when it comes to marriage and divorce, and then remarriage. Is there such thing as sinful divorce? If it is, then wouldn't you want to protect your friends and your family and your community from those things? I think you would. And most of us would say, yeah, we would. But, then we see about the difficulty that's going to cause us, the strife, the potential conflict, all the what ifs, in order to, go down that road. And maybe it's like, oh, well, it's like that scripture about, you got to be smart enough or wise enough or forward thinking enough before you go out and you build a big building or some big project. You got to think about the costs. Are you willing to pay those costs? And I think some people, they're confronted with that. They say, man, I mean, if this is big and I have to go and talk to people, talk to my pastor, maybe change churches, maybe not give to these certain ministries or go and talk to people that I have an ear with and say, hey, this is a huge problem. This is a huge problem that your ministry has with their, with their policies. I think this is a huge problem. I mean, hey, there's a lot of things you could find to do on your Saturday afternoon besides that, right? There's a lot of things. It'd be easy to find something to do besides that. So hey, I mean, but at the same time, I think it's okay. It's like I was angry at the beginning. I felt like, what, this guy, he's really let me down. I need a brother in the fight. This is a tough fight. And he said he was going to be there. I picked him, specifically for this task. For the hard times, and now where is he, right? So I dealt with all that. I got angry and I was, kind of, and it, didn't say anything mean to him at all. But just internally I had to struggle through that. I had to be like, man, what's going on with this guy? But I mean, it's okay, like we don't have to. Yeah, I like it when Joyce Meyer says you don't have to be the Holy Spirit Junior. You don't have to micromanage all your friends and all your relationships. And I mean, I have no idea what this guy's going through. And I probably, even if I had like a couple days to sit down with him, things are complicated. Life is complicated. Who knows what's going on with him. And honestly, it's been very difficult for me. I think there's true for all of us. There's been days where it's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Or you question your real, not your loyalty so much, but you really wonder. I mean, in a lot of different ways. There's doubt that comes in. Is this the right thing to do? I think it is. But it doesn't mean it's always easy. So that's it in a nutshell. If you have people that just say, hey, I mean, I'm not with you anymore. It happens. It happens. And but also I would say as a closing comment that God brings new people. He does. He's gonna prepare you to help other people, and they might be amazing people of prayer to be right there in it with you. So that's been also another experience that I should add as a closing comment. So I hope you guys well. I know I haven't commented a lot. I've been doing some research on this particular drug company related to how big the thing is with the sickness, and I studied social entrepreneurship. I think it's a very interesting time as an investor, given the disruption of so many industries. Two, I think that there are some really, really interesting, I don't know, it's a scary time. I mean, it's a big, scary time. It's hard to look at that data. But I see a lot of people chasing these short-term, anytime some news comes out of this or that drug company, they want to jump in, try to make a few $100 and jump out. And, I'm trying to decide, A, I don't have the time to day trade like that, but B, I mean, I am truly, honestly, like, wondering, like, this is, from social investing standpoint, this is a huge opportunity, to get this right. Companies are going to make a lot of money. And, if you're out of work, and you are $30,000 in student loans or something like that, I spend a lot of time on this channel talking about how to, do study with me, how to go and get that next certification, how to upgrade your income, because it's an important part of life. So is investing. So picking the right companies, and ones that make sense, ones that are out there to do good, but ones that are also, not going to cripple you financially, ones, that have a good possibility of being profitable. I think, the worker is worth his wages. I think there's having some kind of investment strategy, some kind of retirement strategy is really important. So I've been looking at that. It's been really interesting. You can see that on Premier Study if you want to go over and check it out. Otherwise, you guys, I mean, I see a lot of you guys out there on Facebook, and I'm thankful for you. Thank you for, and even for people that aren't pro, marriage restoration or standing or whatever, but have shared comments about why you don't think that's a good situation. I also thank you for the respectful dialogue that's been going on, Neil Doster and other people. So just thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.